we've heard so much during the last days. I'm very thankful that Martha and that they wrapped up what was being said during the last days. And today, at this point, I want to take us back to the image of the Notre Dame burning. And you see a shot here, a picture of Notre Dame burning. I don't know, it's one of these occasions when I remember where I was and what I did at that time when I saw that on TV, and how my heart broke in a way. Because in France, a country where there's not very many believers, to see this old building burning really made me very sad. And I want to, all of us, go back to what Carolyn Custis James said in the beginning about Notre Dame, and us sitting there trying to restore what was destroyed inside the church. And with this image in our minds, I just ask you to close your eyes for 1 second or 2 seconds, and to see yourself sitting there in the rubbles of Notre Dame, and trying to start rebuilding what was being destroyed by sin and the separation from the Garden of Eden. It all starts with studying the blueprint. When you're sitting there in the rubble, and I want you now to take a pen and a paper or whatever, write down something. I'm going with you through a few thoughts on the image of the Notre Dame. And I want you to write down an action to any point I make, if that is possible, just for yourself. My first point, study the blueprint. We are so lucky that we have the blueprint. We have the Old and New Testament. We have Jesus, who came to restore what was destroyed by Satan through the sin entering the relationship of men and women, and rulership being the consequence of it. Study the blueprint. And the question that we can all ask ourselves is, do I know the blueprint well enough that I can stand on it, defend it, use it in all that I'm doing inside the church? Do I compare what I'm doing with the blueprint of the Old and New Testament, especially talking about men and women? What can I do to study it more? Find books, go to websites, join discussions, study the Bible yourself, read books on women in the Bible, and build a foundation, comparing it with the blueprint, so that you are equipped to do your work with a sense of, I am part of a bigger endeavor. And wherever I'm sitting here in this rubble is one place that God has put me in. And as we saw in that church, some walls were still standing and others were destroyed. So maybe you are in a part of the world or church or denomination where there is still strong walls standing. Or maybe you're just sitting down and there's only burnt beams and rubbish, and you think, well, where can I start? Look at the blueprint, because the blueprint gives us direction. What is your next step? What will you study? You can write down one idea that you pick up. What do you want to study? The second one, teach the blueprint. Once you've understood it yourself, go and teach it to others. If you imagine us all in the church sitting in this rubble of the destroyed chapel, everybody is trying to do something, but without the blueprint, it will be to no good end. So we have to teach the blueprint to all around us and show them and say, well, this is what God intended, and this is what we should do. Teach the blueprint. Find somebody in your church, a child, a woman, a man, a young person, whom you can teach what you have learned. And teaching is so important. Teach the blueprint to others who are involved in the church. Show them where their position is and what they are asked to do. Thirdly, cast the vision. Cast the vision. We are talking about the character of God. This is the vision for rebuilding the cathedral, building the church. It's the bigger picture. We want to reflect the beauty of God, of his image reflected in us, men and women together. The example I want to give is that somebody was visiting a place where the stonemasons were working. And he asked the first one and he said, "What are you doing?" And he answered, "Oh, I'm working on this stone. I'll make it really neat and nice." And he went on and he asked the second one. And he said, "What are you doing?" Was doing the same thing. He said, "I'm building a cathedral." He was only working on one stone, but he knew he was building a cathedral. This is casting the vision. We have to show people around us, men and women alike, young and old alike, that to redeem and restore what was being destroyed is building a place where God can be worshipped. It's building a cathedral for people to see the love of Christ, where they can come and feel safe, men and women alike. That was thirdly, cast the vision. Fourthly, find the gems in the rubble. Look what you can find. You maybe find a little piece of a glass window. You maybe find a little golden piece. You find a piece of a puzzle that you don't really know where it belongs. Use it and encourage whomever you find in your church, in your denomination, in your region, in your country, and invest in the people. Find the gems of the next generation and invest in them so that they can continue the work once we can no longer do it. Encourage, give orientation and give instruction, and clean the gems, clean it from the rubble, from the dirt, from the dust, from the fire that is still shown on the outside, and clean it so that everybody can shine in the kingdom of God. Raise the attention. This is what they did in Paris. They asked all the experts from all over the world to come and help them. Because to read the blueprint is one thing, but to have the skills of rebuilding is another thing. Raise the attention and ask people to cooperate with you, partner with you. We heard that right now in the examples that we heard. You can do that by writing a blog, editing or translating books that are helpful. You can do that by bringing in experts from around the world, people you've heard here or seen, and people you know who have written books. Invite them to come to your networks, to your church, to your region, to your conferences, to teach and to give their expertise so that the building construction can go on. We heard that prophetic word from Nikki. She heard the words under construction. And the church is under construction, and we are builders in this church. Go on the internet, go on TV, on radio, whatever you find that you can do, and get the message out that we all need to work together, because it's a daunting task. It's an overwhelming task, and nobody can do it alone. We have to work together. And this is the sixth point: stay connected. With whom do you want to stay connected? Stay connected with Rise in Strength, of course. Go and visit the website. Give us your insight. Organize ESA conferences wherever you are. Teach what you have learned. Keep in touch with each other, and let us know how you are doing, where you are working. What has not worked? What was successful? How did you implement what you've heard? And what little piece of reconstruction could be done through your ministry? And the last point, find funds. We once did a global research on the situation of women's ministry, and we found out there's two main obstacles worldwide. The first one is theology, as we've heard over and over again right now and during these days. And the second one is funding. There's not enough money to fund women's ministries and also to support women's ministries. So go and find funding to rebuild the Notre Dame will cost millions of euros or dollars or whatever you have, or Bitcoins. But all these money is needed, and much more is also needed to instruct and to encourage women in ministry. Most of us are doing this voluntarily without receiving any money. And this is good because God blesses us and gives us money wherever we need it. But to fund the reconstruction and to encourage women and to do the funding, like we've heard from the Roma network, is so important. So let's find funds. In Ephesians 2:22, it says, in him you are being built together into a dwelling place for God by the Spirit. In him you are being built together into a dwelling place for God by the Spirit. Rise up, step up. We have lots of work to do. God is on our side.